Welcome back to episode 3, guys, and as you can see, transfer deadline day is fast approaching. Still have £200 million to play with, and I have a plan for deadline day. Sort of. Yes, as we can see here, I still have £208 million to spend. Now, the problem is I am struggling to spend it, and it's not because I couldn't find players to spend £208 million for. The issue we have is a bit more complex than that. A little bit irritating. I get it, it's the rules of the league. But the main issue we have lies in this screen here. When it comes to registration of players, obviously you need to have a certain homegrown trained in England there, and we're struggling to have some. So because we're struggling to have enough players trained in England, it then punishes you by having to reduce the amount of players you can have in the squad. So at the moment, I can only have 24 players in the squad because I can't fill the quota of 8, which means I can register one more player. And if I want to have any more depth to the squad, they either have to be homegrown, or, and this is where I think I've got a plan, or under 21. Because if they're under 21 or under 20, they don't have to be registered, which means I can add them to the squad depth, and they won't have to register. And I'm pretty sure there's a couple of potential world-class players out there that are under the 21, and that is the plan for deadline day, is to bring a couple of those guys in. And just a bit of transfer news just to start off with. You guys probably guessed it, I was kind of eyeing him up in the last episode. I did go and bring in Matheus Nunes from Wolverhampton Wanderers there for around £65 million, which I don't think is a bad deal at all, considering his worth has already doubled there. He's gone in. He's now a starter for us in the box-to-box midfield role. He's warming into it, let's just say that. That's the first signing we have brought in since the last episode. So let's go have a look at where I feel like I can add a little bit more on deadline day. So looking at our starting 11 at the moment, there's a few changes that still need to be made. Rasmus has now become fully fit. He just needs his sharpness. And as you can see, he's already scored 2 goals for ourselves there. Diaby is starting on the left and Kulusevski on the right. So starting 11, not an issue. Midfield 3, not an issue. I can see us sticking with the midfield that we've got, because looking at our squad depth, 9, 8 and 5 players there. We don't need that many more players. Looking at the depth of players that can work in different positions, all over these, including the likes of Bentancur, Rodrigo. With Rodrigo still to come back there as well. So I think we're just going to stick with this at least till January and see what pops up. See if this is good enough. If not, I can't imagine I'm going to spend the whole £200 million today. Maybe I can add somebody in there, and it's the same, that defensive midfield. Højbjerg, Basuma, Skip can play in there. Rodrigo can play in there. Then looking at the left-back position, I know I was eyeing up a replacement for Reguilon to bring in maybe a better player. Now, realistically, the more I've looked into him and actually the more he's played, he's actually impressed me. So he's going to be sticking around as our main left-back at least till January. And there is the factor of the regulations of being able to register certain players. I'm struggling to register any more players, as we've just discussed there. So it is difficult to just replace everybody. Not that I want to keep some of the originals here, at least to start off with. But he's sticking around for now. And then swiftly moving on to the centre-backs, I was looking at maybe bringing another player in at centre-back. There was one, I was looking at the guy from Crystal Palace, or Tomori from AC Milan. We're going for the homegrown factor there. And I wouldn't rule bringing a centre-back in, but it's certainly not something I'm looking for right now coming into deadline day. I'm sort of happy with what we have. Romero, Schlotterbeck, Sanchez and Dye as the backup. And at the moment, we do still have Rodon in the squad. He is someone I am actively looking to leave, but that's a 50-50. The deals coming in are not worth it. I may as well keep him for my own depth. If he does leave, I might look to replace him. There. At right back, I have no issues at all. I'm quite happy with my two right backs there. Now, the attacking positions, this is where I feel like there's going to be some movement in today's episode on deadline day. Richarlison is considered, it could be a striker or he can play on the wings. So my issue is if I consider him a striker, I'm pretty sure I said this before, then I need to bring an attacking midfielder just because I don't feel like there is no depth there. Because if you were to take out him, for example, if Richarlison is a striker, Nunes is a midfielder, that is my first wingers for both sides. So there's no depth there. Same on the other side. If I take out that, Maddison can play there, and I'm not saying he's not good at playing there. He can play on the right-hand side, I guess, but he's looking to be my number one Mazzala. He's need depth. So I need at least one more player on that could cover either wing. But if Richarlison if I'm going to use him out wide, then he can play either wing, but then I need to bring in another striker. So I do have a lot of money to spend, and I am thinking that depth-wise, I could just go and bring in a player for both. If they're under 21, I could bring them both in. So who knows? But I can sign one player over 21. So who's to say I can't go and sign one more world-class player there? Maybe I'll still go for an under 21 there. There was just one more outgoing as well at the right back. Jed Spence has gone out on loan. And, last one as well. There is a guy called Udogie, which I think is playing for Tottenham in real life. He's gone out on loan for Southampton for the season. So in terms of regular, he is my number one now. However, looking at Udogie there, he is only 20-year-old. So I guess I have already been asked that I should recall him and start him, and I can absolutely see why. And the more I look at him, the more I'm tempted to, because that could free up another space. I'm getting off track now. But the plan is, for Udogie, is he's going to spend out on loan at Southampton at least till January, I think, because you'll start week in, week out there. Maybe I'll bring him back to replace Regulon in January. But if not, I can see him being that long-term replacement for Regulon at left back. And I know some of you guys might think, why don't I just start him now? And quite frankly, I don't have an answer for that. I don't have an answer for that. Can I? I could recall him, maybe. Ooh. See, this is what I mean. We're going to be busy, but at the moment, Udogie stays. By the end of deadline day, I don't know. Maybe I might eye up see if there's anybody coming in for Regulon. That means Udogie would come in, and if I'm correct, he would go under the under 21s, so he would fill up. So I'd be able to open a space up there for another top signing. And there is one more likely outgoing today that I know of for definite, and it looks like Perisic is going to be leaving us. He is injured. It does look like he's going to go out on loan for the season with a little bit of money offered, although quite frankly, if I can get some of his wages off the books, I'm quite happy with that. But let's not wait any longer. Let's get into deadline day and let's get busy. And looking at the deadline day screen here, it does look like, what's that going to do there? It just looked like the screen is pretty much exactly the same as previous years. It seemed to work. Shows where you're attracting interest in players. Sanchez, I'm not too sure about that one. And you've got your expiring contracts. That could be interesting as to whether I could let him go or not. And your listed players, Gil, Perisic, again, with these injured, they are struggling to bring them in. Obviously, Jed Spencer's already gone out on loan, and I am potentially looking at Tanganga to go as well. But I have been eyeing up this guy, who I think would be a fantastic addition on both wings, only 21-year-old. He could be the answer on both wings, where he would cover there. And obviously, I'm not going to worry about him up top, because Richarlison will go up there if this guy comes in. Ethan Ferguson, I know a lot of people have been signing him. He just kind of seems like an obvious signing. He's under 21. He could be the backup. I say backup. He could compete with Rasmus for that number one spot, leaving Richarlison to work the wings and come in as well. He's big. He's strong. It kind of seems like something you'd want to sign if possible. So 1 hour in, nothing to report yet. The only thing I will say is it doesn't look like we're going to be getting Ethan Ferguson. Because looking at the amount they were wanting for Ethan Ferguson, it's not that it wasn't financially doable, it's just the amount they were asking for up front. It was looking at £135 million, and realistically, I don't think we'd pay £135 million for even Ferguson there. So when it comes to that one, we do move on to the next player. It may be that I bring in an attacker to play multiple roles, and Ethan Ferguson maybe just waits for another day. But looking at possibly could stick with Richarlison as the backup there to Højlund, or the other way around. Who knows how the season's going to go? I was hoping we'd be able to get one more in, but as so far, nothing yet. So we are down to 12 hours remaining of deadline day, and not much more has happened. I have tried to still sell a few players, but I did pull the trigger and play the release clause for this guy here. £51 million straight cash deal. No messing about. No installments, just 51 million quid for him. And I could see him playing plenty of game time and proving the squad and being the future. And when we win trophies. So we have got movement on the Joe Rodon deal. Leicester do want to take him in on loan there. And I'm not too sure. After 20 games, he's going to bring in fee percentage. Do I accept that deal? Is that someone who I could see leaving the squad? I don't think... Is he down as registration at the moment? I don't think he is. Which would free up a space, I guess. But then the problem is he takes the homegrown quota down. So if I was to get rid of Joe Rodon, I would have to bring in another English centre-back there, which is not the end of the world. But what English centre-back do I bring in? Do I then go and pull the trigger on Tomori? I think for now I am going to reject that there, because I'm not too sure whether there's anyone I could bring in, and he would have to be homegrown, and he's not happy about it, unsurprisingly, considering I'm the one offering him out. It doesn't surprise me in the slightest that he's not happy about that. I want to sell you, not loan you if you're going. No, I'm not unrealistic. If they come and give me 15 million cash, you can go. 15 million pounds and you can go. So let's just look at this one here. We're bringing in Barex here, another nice player that I can't name. He's going to come in 110k. Going to be a star player. This could be a sticking point for me. But it was the only one I'd accept. But I've got to make sure he just gets plenty of game time, and hopefully everyone's kept happy. I did try and go down the route of offering him like regular, and then if he achieves this, but he wasn't having any of that. So that does work, just not all the time there. But let's not hesitate. Let's go bring that player in there. Nothing there. He's not even interested in talking to them. Okay. So these guys want to become permanent for 2.5 million, but they reckon he's worth. What do we do there? Do you know what? This is going to seem stupid, but I'm going to reject that because it doesn't seem like it's enough. Not too worried about talking to yous yet. We are down to 10 hours, guys. It's not as exciting as I thought it was going to be, but I wanted to take you guys through deadline day just to see what kind of stuff happens, see if there's anything different. It's very, very active, and those intermediates do come in. And ooh, there's this guy. No, I don't need him. Intermediates do come in very, very quick. I'll give you one example here for, let me just, without upsetting someone, hire an intermediary. So it will tell you, is it 2 hours, is it 3 hours, is it 1 hour? Obviously, the percentages go up depending on on what sort of agent they are, what sort of deal they're looking at, and how much they think they can get from him. But looking at that, it will tell you a couple of hours when it comes in, which I think is pretty impressive there as well. So we have solved one problem there, bringing in the winger, which when it comes to our squad registration, that does mean, if I am correct, that fills, because if I try and add another one, it won't let me because I haven't got enough players there. So the next player either has to be homegrown or has to be under 21. And the only player I realistically need to bring in now, if I wasn't going for replacements, is a striker. Because I feel like if we just look at our squad depth there, we've got him coming in now. That's fine. He can work with him there. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. Because, again, look at the likes of Lo Celso, with Maddison, with Nunes, with Chamberlain. They can fill in there if need to, so it's not like I need millions of players in those positions. And I'm pretty sure we don't have Europe this year either. But is this enough up front? I feel like it is, but it's just spending all that money. I just want to spend all that money. But we'll move on to another week. The fans kind of C plus. That seems a bit harsh, does it not? I assumed he was pretty decent player there. Perisic is now going to leave on loan, and that will be him gone now completely there. So that's expected. That gets him sort of off the books there. Why are these players coming in? For Sanchez, do I replace Sanchez? Can I replace Sanchez? No. Quite frankly, I'll just stick to how he's got. And this will be looked at in January a little bit more, hence why having all this money probably is best as well to sit round until January time. Okay, so here's an interesting one. I'm not too sure I'm going to accept it because I'm not too sure it would be wise to accept it. But with 5 hours to remaining, Joe Rodon has had an offer from Liverpool. Now, again, unless I can replace him with a homegrown player, which I don't think there's many out there for me. Again, that's just a lie. Then I think he's just gonna have to stick around, and he's gonna have to like lump it at this rate at the moment because we don't really have the time to go on with a sufficient replacement. He's not going to get much game time for me, unfortunately. But I can't just wait around and just let him leave without a replacement there. I am just seeing if any of those players, again, can be loaned or sold, especially the likes of Gill. They're all gone. But actually, looking at the squad, I feel like I'm going to struggle to sign a striker, thinking of a striker under the age of 21. And there are certain players that can play there if it really, really needs to. My only concern is the winger depth, but then because you've got one player bringing in depth for both sides. So I wonder if there's a possibility for me to be able to sneak in one more midfielder if I can't sneak in another striker. Again, we're back to that issue again. If I bring in a striker, Richarlison plays the wings. If I bring in a winger, Richarlison plays up front. I've got 4 hours remaining to make that decision, and I'm actually no closer than I was at the beginning of the episode. So with only a couple of hours remaining of deadline day, I've had to try and think of a semi-creative player that I either had to bring in another striker, as we've just discussed, for Richarlison to play on the wings, or I had to bring another winger, just because personally I don't feel like I've got the depth. And looking through my players, it does look like the guy we have come up with to come in and add to that squad depth on either wing is, in fact, Harvey Barnes. Might seem a bit of a left field decision there. Maybe it's a bad decision, but I feel like he's a solid signing. Wants to be a squad player, so there's no issues bringing him in there. He's not going to complain too much. And a 4-year deal's not too bad considering you can have that. Considering he is only 25 years old, so his value could go up. I doubt it, but his value could go up. But it looks like our final signing could be that of Harvey Barnes. So the idea is to potentially bringing in a centre back, didn't happen. Bringing a striker, didn't happen. We've ended up bringing in two wingers instead, and looks like Richarlison is going to continue playing up front with Rasmus. Let's just hope them two on their own can do it. And it's safe to say, at least till January, we won't be doing a two striker system unless I play some other guys on a different wings or behind the striker. We are into the last couple of hours and we are finding some slightly interesting signings here now. Look at the likes of Lamar. Obviously, people showing interest there. But as you guys will see now, when I go into my registration, I'm going to need to bring in Harvey Barnes. Why can't I see Harvey Barnes? Have I not signed him yet? I don't think I've signed him yet. I haven't signed him yet, that's why. That makes sense. So there's Harvey Barnes, who's now been brought in, and we haven't got down to 2 hours there. When I go into squad registration, again, I'm going to need to put Harvey Barnes in the squad, as I was just about to do. That does mean I have 1 space left. And there we have it, guys. Deadline day has finished. It kind of seems like the other previous games, nothing too exciting. Some interesting potential deals. The intermediaries do respond very, very quickly when you try and offer players out. However, the players I did offer out, yes, maybe it was more me rejecting the offers, but there does seem to be more willingness to get rid of players that you are trying to get rid of. Not all of them. Like the likes of Gill, nobody came in for Gill, but some of them, there's definitely those different avenues to be able to get rid of those players there. And we have now got the 6th highest wage bill, which I suspect might mess with my finances. It doesn't. And we have gone and spent the most money with £439 million. But when you look at the finances, when you look at the transfer deals themselves, we did go ahead and sell Harry Kane for 115 million. We did then sell Song for 110 million. And we've spent about £200 million of instalments there. And it's just a roundup. We did bring in Harvey Barnes to players as a backup on both wings. We did bring in this guy again to probably play a backup on the other wing, but look to be the future there. We did bring in Nunes as well. He's our new central midfielder. We didn't bring any other central midfielders in. We did bring in Hoyland, a youngster, 20-year-old. And we brought in Diaby as well, only 24. Chottelbeck at 23. So, as I said in the last episode, it's out with the old, in with the new. Most of those signings, I don't think any of them were over 25, except, obviously, the Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I must admit, I'm not saying I'm regretting this, but the more I've gone through the transfer window, the less I'm understanding why I decided to go through it in the first place. But this guy is in with experience to add depth to the squad there. That meaning, looking at our squad planner, we've now got multiple players on each side. The depth there, 3 and 4. 2 strikers up front. Again, we're going to be sticking with these 2 at least till January, see how we go. As we said before, we've got plenty of midfielders to pick from. Probably still too many. I probably could have shipped 1 or 2 of them out. But as the season goes on, we'll sort of weed out who never plays and we'll ship them off in January. Both our full-backs with Regulan staying in, and the other guy staying on loan at Southampton, can't remember his name, but he probably will be our number 1 in the near future. Pedro Porro and Real in the middle. We have got the likes of Romero and Schlotterbeck, Diet, Sanchez. We also have Tanganga coming back, and Joe Rodon, I think, didn't end up leaving, if I am correct there. Joe Rodon is still a player of ours. So when it comes to registration, do I have space to put him back in? I have space to add 1 more player back in. He's already in. So maybe I look to add one more player that wasn't supposed to be going to be back in there. Oh, so why was he not put in? Phew, I'd have been so devastated if I wouldn't have been able to register him there. But it does look like Heath goes and fills that spot there. We didn't able to get rid of Gill either. Nobody was interested in Gill, so I'm not too sure what he'll probably just sit around until. No way is he worth 61 million pounds there. He'll just sit around until January, and probably same with Tanganga. But then we have got the likes of Sanchez, who is out of contract. So these are things to consider going into January. But because of that, now looking at our starting 11 and our bench, with the likes of Diaby and Kulusevski, who I'm pretty sure is still relatively young himself, so there's no reason to be looking at replacing him anytime soon. In the starting 11, with new signings Nunes, Maddison in there, and Basuma. Schottlebeck in there as well. Højlund up front. But just looking straight to the bench, we do have Barnes, our new winger as well. Oxlade-Chamberlain in there. Romero, who would usually be starting. Richarlison now to come off the bench and compete for that starting position. And if you just look down at, once you get rid of all these injured players, Sessegnon, who I don't know is registered. I think he's registered. Bentancur, who I'm pretty sure is also registered. He's not saying he isn't. The likes of Skip, Lo Celso, Rodon. But the depth in this squad is I'm very, very happy with. And it just seemed to be a very injury-friendly save this. So there's a chances are we're going to need those players. And just a quick look at what we've been up to since that first game of the season against Wolves. That was followed up by a 2-0 win against Everton, a 0-0 draw against Brighton. That was a rather frustrating game there, if I remember rightly. We had plenty of chances there. Don't know where to find the stats yet. We then absolutely destroyed MK Dons in the cup with our what we consider B team, and then we have gone and drawn Peterborough in the third round of the Carabao Cup there. Like I said, we are going to try to win some trophies, so I think it's safe to say that every trophy that we are in, we take seriously, because this season at the very least, we don't have Europe. So let's go get all domestic trophies. Quite frankly, this season, even with £400 million spent, I'll take one trophy. If I can get one trophy this season, it's a successful season and we can push on and see what we can do in the near future. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope it wasn't too long-winded. I just wanted to go through Deadline Day with you guys, show you to see if there is anything different with Deadline Day, and to summarise the signings we've made and the squad we are going to go with from now till January. Hopefully, you are impressed with the signings. Do you think I could have gone about it a different way? Do you think I could have brought in different signings? Was there more under 21 gems out there that I just wasn't aware of? Were there more under 21 gems out there that I just wasn't aware of? Maybe my scouts just completely missed them and they were obvious. Feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I'm looking forward to January as well. Who do you think I should bring in? Looking into the squad, should I replace some already existing players in the squad? Are you happy with my signings? Are you unhappy with my signings? Anything at all? Any opinions, any thoughts and feelings on the save and the squad, and especially the transfers? Feel free to let me know. And guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.